In this video, we will show you how to configure PIV card Logon with an IdenTrust certificate. This process takes 4 steps. First, we'll issue the domain controller certificate. Second, we'll verify the domain controller can access the CRL and AIA listings from the certificate. Next, we'll install the certificates into the IdenTrust store. And finally, we'll verify the account within the Active Directory has the UPN that matches the certificate. So the first step is we issue a domain controller certificate to the domain itself. The purpose of this certificate is when the client logs in to the domain, it verifies the domain using the certificate. So using the snap-in, I simply go and enroll new certificate using the domain controller template. Press enroll and the certificate is generated. I'll then go and double check that the certificate template is the domain controller and then it's verified and the validity is what I want. So now that we've issued the domain controller, let's verify the domain controller can access the certificate's CRL and AIA listings. So we'll look at the IdenTrust issuing certificates, both the issuer and the root certificate. In this example, I'm using test certificates, but the process is the same for production as well. So I'll first go into the AIA extension, and I want to validate that my domain controller can access these URLs. The reason is during the PKI validation process, the domain controller will verify these certificates and validation points. So I'll use this simple wget built-in utility and just browse or access the URL. I'll receive a 200 and I can verify that this domain controller can access that URL. Next, I'll look and verify that we can also access the CRL, and I'll use the same utility for this process. I'm seeing I'm receiving a 200, which is an HTTP OK, so we're good to go. The next thing we want to do is create the trust from the domain controller for the issuer certificates. So we will now install these issuing certificates into both the intermediate CA and trusted root CA certificate stores. So again, using the Microsoft Snap-in, I'll just use the import utility, specify the file, and then complete the process to enroll each of the certificates. So here I'm enrolling my intermediate issuing certificate. And now that that's complete, I will import the trusted root certificate into the trusted root CA certificate store. Again, using the same import utility from the snap-in, I'll click next, locate the certificate, and import it. Alright, I'll do just a quick view of the certificates to make sure that they're trusted and I'm not receiving any more validation errors. And I can see through the certification path that everything's looking great. So now that that's done, I want to install the issuer certificates into the IdenTrust store. To do this, I'm using the Microsoft cert util command. Here I've written up a quick batch script to publish this automatically. I'll go into PowerShell and then run that batch script. And from there I can see that the certificates have been published. The next thing I'll do is use the same certificate utility to verify the certificates were published to the IdenTrust store. So using the enterprise space view store switch on the IdenTrust store container, I can verify that these certificates have been published to the IdenTrust store. So now that we have the domain controller trusting the issuing certificates and the domain controller certificate issued, we want to make sure that the account that we're logging with has the UPN value that matches what's in the certificate. So here I'm just using ADSI and I'm double checking the UPN or user principal name matches what's on my PIV authentication certificate. And finally, we'll perform a Windows logon to the workstation. Here my Windows 10 is joined to the domain. I'm inserting my PIV card here. I'll enter the PIN to this PIV card and then the certificate validation process occurs, and I'm able to log in. So just like that, you're able to configure your domain controller and allow PIV card login with a certificate that's issued from a third party such as IdenTrust. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, send me an email. Thank you very much.